Iko sawa hivyo?
Tuko sawa.
So you'll do the intro then?
Yes.
And then,
What is up, everybody? So it's another episode for us. Welcome back to our spot. You are hanging out with me, Haron Mumuli. Nilisema sina nickname bado. Nataka kusaidiwa kutafuta because syllables mbili ni ngumu kudefine nickname. And we are with
the creative me. The creatives like me, at least I have a nickname. So the OG, you know, it's a common name, but anyway, the OG. You can call me Githinji. So it's a pleasure to be here on another chilly.
Very chilly.
It's actually not chilly. It's very cold.
It's cold. Very cold.
Yeah.
Hii weather ya majuna tuibebe tuirudishe huko. Ama ni akina gofu.
And funny enough, we're only 14 degrees. It's only 14 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. We're looking at that.
So
actually.
you can imagine places like States or Europe where they go to minus. You know.
I wouldn't survive, let me be honest. Okay, but I was being told that for them, they hope from AC to AC. So ukitoka kwa nyumba, AC inafanya.
Ukiingia
kwa gari, AC inafanya. Ukiingia classroom, AC. Otherwise, pia wangekuwa.
Yeah, but the true makes sense. I was also thinking about putting an AC in my house because wow, the cold. Yani umevaa socks, umevaa, you know, everything, umejifunika, umevaa jacket, sweater, nini, but you're still feeling cold. So it's yeah.
It's bad. Okay, but you need to appreciate that at least it's a sign that we've gotten to the middle of the year.
Yeah, true.
We've actually crossed the mid-month.
Yeah.
Hi.
Second half of the year.
Second half, Resolutions, how we doing? Nikuzuri, nikubaya.
It's a tough topic, by the way. I think we actually need to cover that as a separate topic on resolutions and everything. But yeah, now that you've mentioned it, I need to go back and just see what I had planned to do.
Oh, so you're one of those, eh? You sit down and just craft and say,
I try.
Like this year,
but I try, by the way. Funny thing, there's actually a list. And I was just looking at it the other day, and I've seen that I've checked some of those things, which is a nice thing. Yeah, so I try. I try every now and then to go back.
Okay, that's interesting.
What about you?
For me, it's mental. Me, nasemanga, this year I want to. Okay, bare minimum I want to. I never write anything because niliona nikiandika. We'll get to July then niangalie niseme.
Personally, I feel like when you write it down, then it becomes tangible. Then it's actually easier to make a follow up actually on it. So when it's mental, and then something mental, you can change it. You know, now ilikuwa hii nimechange. You know, but something you wrote it
exactly
down.
What you're saying. That's what works for me. Even if unasema I can change, that I will say, okay, let's say for example, this year I really intend to wacha tuseme kaburoti maguta sindio. If that's the decision I've made, I'll be like, okay, sawa. I'll take time to just do my research and I need to do ABC so that in acquisition of the land, right?
Yeah.
Then I will sit down and say, by the way, you know, when I was making that decision, I hadn't put thought into what my finances were, and let me adjust instead of July. Wacha iwe nugget. So that's how I work.
But that is a topic we need to get back to
another day. Yes,
another day. So today we are talking about fear versus faith.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, by the way.
Very interesting.
Even as we were coming here, by the way, with Man
Githere mwenye amejificha hapo ni Malens.
He likes calling himself I am Alvin.
Yeah,
social media handles zote utapata hiyo jina yake hivyo.
Mpaka itakusuggestia.
I'm the soft life ambassador.
Ambassador. By the way, you guys, you need to check this guy out. Amejituma kidogo. Kuna areas of opportunity, but jamaa, we need to appreciate amejituma.
Fanya kazi safi.
Yes,
so you're actually talking about fear versus faith as you were coming, and I think even some bits of that we can upload for guys to see what we are talking about. So exactly what we want to talk about now. So when it comes to fear vis-a-vis faith, what comes to mind when we talk about that?
I think okay, tuanze tu na definition then to move on. For me, I'd say fear is that feeling that is evoked. Essentially, okay, now in my perspective, it's a feeling that's evoked that comes about, that is evoked whenever you have an unknown outcome. So I'll give examples. I know we were also just sharing the same as we were building up to what we'll talk about today. I want to do A, but I know that there are risks with doing A. That probably nataka tuseme kama jana ilikuwa 7:00 nataka kuenda tao na ni siku ya 7:00 and I know that naweza rushiwa mawe, probably my ka emblem katagwaruzwa mahali. So unaona, I might then decide to go to tao or not to go to tao because I kuna hizo reservations have won have won the battle between me wanting to go to town versus thinking about all the risks that
so basically there is fear that maybe if you go, then this might happen to you. Might come across these people, get your car stoned or whatever, even you yourself. So on the other hand, there's faith where you're like,
where I'm like, exactly. So now faith ni ile yenye we can take that exact same example to say I want to go to tao. I know that kuna chance that again emblem itagwaruzwa, but I'll be like no, but I need to go to town. I know there's a chance tutagwaruzwa, but kwani what are the chances that kuna tu hako kajamaa kana ngoja emblem yangu na kagwaruze na mae.
So you have faith that you'll actually be able to go to town and come back safe and sound, and nothing will happen to you, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
It's interesting by the way when you look at it like that. So it's sort of like, opposite sides of the same coin. So there's fear and then there's faith on the other hand.
Actually, you have put it as in you have coined it. Talk about the coins today. Hizi tutanunua nini kwa economia? But yes, it's as you've mentioned, it makes a lot of sense that if you think about it now, from someone who isn't facing any fear or who isn't facing any scenario that requires fear or faith, if you look at both scenarios, they more or less sound like the same thing. It's just that they are demanding something different from you, and it's based on an outcome that as human beings, okay, for me especially, I do not necessarily have the physical control to choose when I need to have faith and when I need to when I'm fearful. That sometimes scenarios, unajua life happens, scenario inapata and you need to you need to maneuver, and in such scenarios inakuaga faith fear, and it's very interesting that I was mentioning it to you earlier, that if as knowledgeable creatures ama as tuseme tu as intellectuals, tuko na intellect and all that, if we were able to more or less control when you should have fear and when you should have faith, I think we would be in better positions as human beings.
It's interesting you say that, because if I do a self-appraisal assessment of myself, then I'd say a few years ago I was more fearful than faithful. And most decisions.
Akisema faithful in that scenario means man with faith, not at faithful at sorry for interrupting though.
So a few years back, I was most of my decisions were driven by that fear. So you want to do something, you want to change jobs, you want to move into another neighborhood, another house, you want to buy a car or a house, or you want to commit to someone. Most of my decisions were mostly driven by fear. And then interesting thing about fear is it sort of paralyzes you. So if you're fearful, then most likely the status quo, you'll try as much as possible to ensure the status quo remains
maintained, so that you don't get to the outcome that you're so fearful of.
You don't rock the boat. You just want things to remain as they are, and mostly you'll find that you're not moving. You're still in the same place. But then again, nowadays, I think as I've grown or as I've matured, let me use that term, I've become more of,
with faith.
Yes.
As
so
in,
I move
you
more
have
with
leaned
faith.
towards.
Yes.
If fear and faith were our two ends of a pendulum,
Yes.
currently your pendulum,
I'm leaning
your
more
weight
towards
is
the faith side. So nowadays when I do things, I do them out of faith. I'm like, yes, let me just do it, Kwani. And I was telling Alvin that I have adopted this very simplistic approach to life, which I call it simplistic because if I tell it to you, you might think, maybe that does not apply to everything, but for me it does. And the thing is, I usually just ask myself, okay, I want to do this. Yes, there's fear, and then
There's faith.
there's faith, but let me just do it out of faith. And the question that I ask myself, even you, when you come to me with a problem and you're like, I'm fearful, what do I do? I'll just ask you, so will you die if you do whatever you intend to do? Will you die? So if the answer is no, then go ahead and do it.
Won't stop you.
Like, what's the worst that can happen to you? It's either you die. So if you won't die, if it won't kill you, it just makes you stronger. So I think nowadays more of my decisions, I'm basing them on that if I won't die, then I have every chance or every reason to take this step.
Okay.
So let me just say, nowadays I'd like to call myself fearless.
Hey, that's a heavy statement.
I'd like to think of myself as fearless.
What? Okay.
Funny thing,
Fearless.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. I want us to backpedal kidogo
Yeah.
back into the conversation where we're talking about fear and faith.
Okay.
Let's do a bit of an analysis where I'm sure you are the best man to tell us about your life story and the situations where you're fearful and all that, right? So if you are to pick those portions in which fear overcame your thought process and you actually had to make a decision based on fear, and if we were to take that fear out and replace it with faith, if would you say that as far as the decision tree and the outcomes that were to come out of the decisions you're making in those scenarios, would you say you're in a better place or in a worse place? Essentially, what I'm trying to get out of this entire discussion is it good to only have faith and never have fear, or should it be a balance of both? Or what are we trying to get out of this discussion?
A balance is necessary because we also don't want to just have a blind faith where you're making all decisions just blindly. Of course, when you're getting to that point where this is a decision that you need to make, and mostly you'll find that you have analyzed everything. You have analyzed different scenarios that could come up, and the only thing that is keeping you from making that decision or making that step is the fear of, like, okay, right now I'm comfortable. What happens when I move there and I don't know what will actually be the case there? So I think it's a thing with humans. We just like that comfort zone where we are in control of everything, or we understand everything that is here, but things that we have no control over, or we don't know how exactly the outcome will be, then we tend not to go into those. So if it's a door, for example, that is a door, and you're here. Let's say you have been locked here. So when you open that door, it's either you find freedom, or maybe there's a lion there waiting for you to eat you up.
Now that's so that's
fear.
That's the example of fear and faith.
Fear will tell you there's a lion there, so don't try and open that door.
But faith will tell you sounds there.
Yes, but faith will tell you open that door. There's freedom, and even if you find a lion, there's a chance you can wrestle the lion and you can even run away and
Probably the lion is not even shouting at you. Ukisikia kwa hiyo mlango hizo roars, inakwambia hiyo ni lion usifungue, but Faith is telling you, hey, it's a huge place, don't worry about the lion. Before kufikia utakuwa umeshapanda mti and okay, si kupanda mti, probably utakuwa ushaingia kwingine.
But you see, I think the default reaction of us humans is, let me just stay here where it's cool, no one is disturbing me. But you risk not finding out what is out there. There could be like greater things out there waiting for you on the other side of the door, but you're content in staying here and just, like I said, not rocking the boat, just staying still, maintaining the status quo. But you risk not finding out what is on the other side of the door, which could be bigger things, greater things. Yes, there's also the aspect that you're risking death, but so
essentially tutakufa sote.
You will die. Even if you stay here, let's say you just locked up in the room, you will still die out of starvation. The structure might just crumble. So I think for me now, I'll just say, okay, let me just open the door. Whatever happens, happens. And now, like I'm telling you, most of the decisions that I've been making for the past year or so have been based on that. Like, yes, I'm looking at the risks, but then there's no chance of getting a reward without risk. There's that risk will always be there. But of course, like you're saying, you're not walking in blindly into the other room. You're considering all the factors, and then you're thinking, okay, this is a risk I could actually take. And the rewards, if they are there, then
get the rewards.
I will get them.
It's
high chances. And for me, the mentality that I have right now is there's this quote by Mark Twain. It says, it says that 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed
of the
by the things you did not do than the ones that you actually did. So for me, I'm thinking 20 years from now, I'll be sitting there with my my teenage kids. Then they're probably starting like a podcast. I'm telling, hey, by the way, 20 years ago, your uncle Mawuli, Harry, we wanted to do this thing, by the way. Right now, I wonder where we would have been.
20 years
and then the kids would ask me, so what happened? So I'll tell them, we were just afraid. We
those are different times. People aren't open to podcast. No, but now people
those things. So at that time, that thing will kill you. That regret, that feeling of why didn't I do it? But now, 20 years from now, whatever happens to this podcast, whatever happens to our sport, I'll be like, we actually did it. Even if it doesn't take off, I'll be like, you know what? We did it. We tried it.
We actualized the dream we had in our mind.
And we gave it our all. And this is the far that we were able to go with it.
Very interesting.
And then there's also the chance that this thing could blow up, could actually get so big.
You're listening to that, guys, huh?
We were like, imagine if we didn't do it. If back then when we had the idea, one of us was like, by the way, you guy, social media, guys there, they just bash each other.
There's KOT to think about.
No. There's also the financial aspect. Where do we get cameras, money for CG what? We need an editor. We need all those things. So all those things
doesn't come cheap.
I am Alvin doesn't come cheap. He wants us to pay CG whatever. His services is top notch. So if all those things you put them, yes, of course you have to consider them. But if you let them like clog your mind and then they overwhelm you, from making that decision, then you end up,
from what I'm picking, essentially, fear more or less keeps status quo.
It paralyzes.
Keeps status quo. Yes. Then faith helps you grow. In summary, that's what we're saying from this discussion. So let me ask you: do you think it's more or less of an age thing that? What was, if now I may ask, Sai, if you're backpedaling again now to memory lane, what was stopping you? What was stopping Githinji, 18 years old, from being more of faith or being less fearful? In summary, what now with the knowledge you have, what could you have done back then? Because again, we are saying at
I like what you're saying. I like what you say there. Now with the knowledge that you have. So the difference is that knowledge. You see that knowledge that I have mastered over all those years. It is the one that has made me, get to this point where I'm thinking, nothing serious will happen. Let me take that step.
In this ship, and we're all lost. No one knows where we're going. And all that.
So when you're 18, and again, it goes to how you were brought up, the values, and then the African setting and whatnot. And I think that is also a topic for another day. So the way we are brought up is just, there's this acha tuite kuna hii nini tumekuwa tukiambiwa, just go to school, study, get good grades, go to campus, get good grades as well, get a job in an office somewhere, marry one wife, get some 2 kids, live in a 3-bedroom
your house,
get a 5 salary, whatever, all those things, and then retire. And so I think
to die.
Yes, I think that narrative that we've been brought up with, underlying it, there's that those values that were passed on to us, which they're like, you don't need to do anything extraordinary, or you don't need to be disruptive. Just follow this path.
We are all sheep.
Yes, this is the same path that your grandfather followed, your father followed, generations. So just follow it. So when your mind is thinking, okay, so I went to school, I did accounts, I don't want to be in an office doing accounts all day. So I'm thinking, I want to do a podcast, I want to do music. But that is a major decision that you're making there. And there's the chance that when you get into that field, it won't work. So even your parents, as you tell them something like that, for them, coming from a fear, point of view or perspective, they're like, no. But you have the faith. Music, music will work. It will work for me. I have the talent. I have the skill. I have the the work rate. I know what I'm doing.
This is the plan. This is how I'm going to execute it. I already have these connections. This is the entire plan.
Yes. So you have this. Them, they're just seeing this small
that
space.
Music is not a successful industry because people are not getting paid well, so you will not find any money there. Now that's the fear that's kicking in.
Yes,
right?
But for you, you're looking at it from a broader perspective, and you're looking at everything and thinking, I don't enjoy doing accounts. 20 years from now, I don't see myself doing this.
And if I'll be doing it, I'll probably be unhappy. Miserable. I'll be miserable. I'll be
and this life, by the way, is so short. I'd rather let me go try music. If it doesn't work out, and I'm sure it won't, because I'll put my all into it. I'll push myself to the limit, and I have faith that it will work. But if it doesn't, then I tried, and then I can do something else. Then I won't have that regret of why didn't I try music at that time. So I think when we are brought up like that, and those values are instilled in us, that very, very I don't want to call it myopic way of looking at life, but you lock yourself from looking at other opportunities and other areas where you can prosper. So for me, that knowledge that I've gathered over time, experiences with people, reading, just interacting with different cultures and whatnot, it has opened my mind to see that there's faith. So all those experiences, like for me, they have gotten me to that point where I feel as if I'm fearless. Yes, and I say it.
What I'm also trying to get out of it is, now for me, with my experience, you see the descriptions that you're giving out, that, hey, I'm someone who was raised in one direction, that the only way to succeed is for you to pick your books, just chew them up, digest them, whatever you need to do, so that you get out with an A, find a job, 6-figure, all that, right? Now that's my background. So now I am trying to get to a point where is there something I can say to the 18-year-old me who's still confused, needs to make a decision on what career path to take for them to succeed, and he is also battling with faith versus fear? Is there anything or any advice or any story you can share with that specific?
For me, for someone who is 18 years old, I think that is a huge responsibility that you're placing on them, that you need to decide now what you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Which is very true.
So, for me, if I had an 18-year-old here with me asking me for advice, I'd tell them, you're young. Just the 20s are for trying things. Just try whatever it is that you want, whatever you feel makes you happy. This is the time where you can make mistakes. You can correct them immediately. You have the time. You have the leeway. You have the the room to do that. As opposed to someone who is 40 or 45 or almost retiring, you can tell them, by the way, I think you can try. At that time, someone has.
At that point, they can still try.
They can still try, but it's the decisions that they would make at that time would be decisions that are affecting so many other people. So there's probably the spouse, there's there are children that are affected by the decisions that you make. There are siblings, all these other things. But someone who is 18, you have no responsibility that is weighing you or tying you. So you're like, I can actually move from this job, go do another. I can move from here to Kisumu, go live there for 6 months, see what I'll do there, go to Coast, go to TZ. You can do all those things. You can try music, DJing. You can do anything that you want at that time.
You're making me feel like an 18-year-old now. I'm almost trying to be a DJ.
But you're still young. You're still young by the way. So you can do these things by the way. So for an 18-year-old, I wouldn't pressure them to the point where you need to make a decision now. Just tell them, just do whatever just try so many different things. And that is, I think, the only way you can find what exactly you want.
I think a part of now being successful, or if I can call myself successful, is knowing how to master faith versus fear, knowing when to just let. It's not about letting, but knowing how to meter your fear and knowing how to just harness the power of faith. I think that is partly what describes success, right? That I might have all the fear in the world. Because let's say now I'm the 40-year-old man who has all these responsibilities, that I am crippled with making a decision as far as fear is concerned, because I'm thinking, where will I go? What will I do in the event this fails and all that? But if I have mastered... Is it a mastery of fear? If I've mastered my fear, I can make decisions that will still help me come out in a situation where I'm appreciative that, hey, at least I tried. Even though I had all this fear, even though I had all these challenges, I know this is all that I needed to grapple with. At least I tried. Because again, as you mentioned, you don't want, even as a 40-year-old man, you don't want to get to a point where you're sitting back and you're like, there was this opportunity that I really feel like I fumbled, because I know for myself now based on my experience,
most let's call them older guys, that is what they go through. That's why you'll hear an older guy, someone who's 50 years old, telling you, I wish I was your age.
I wish I was hapo kwanza kile ningefanya. And when you ask someone for example, like I've been watching a lot of videos on social media, and it's more or less now millennials asking their parents, hey, would you have gotten into marriage if you got to do it twice? And then a guy was like, no, me I'd have died single, because marriage is stressful and all that, right? So as in, essentially now, if you are a master of fear versus faith, if you're a master of fear versus faith, I don't think it'll get to a point where you're saying, if I would have done it again, I don't think I would have made the decision I made at that point, right? Is that what you're saying from this conversation? Yeah. Because for me,
more or less.
Now when I look at it, of course, back then, I've gotten to a point where I'm more comfortable with being fearful, and I'll be like, I know I'm scared, but here we just have to move. There's nothing you can do. For me, I wouldn't say I have mastered that. Mi ni ule mse faith imenikalia hapa tu hivi, shield yangu ya nini. Captain America, my shield is faith. I wouldn't say that, but I would say that I am less fearful than I was, let's say, 10 years ago. back then, the world was too large. A lot was happening. I was very comfortable with just staying wherever I am, and I had potential. So you see, essentially, it's more or less wastage of resources. So I think part of what you're mentioning in the conversation is, as an 18-year-old or someone who's young, and I wouldn't just put it to 18-year-olds, because even for
all
old guys, all ages, as long as you have life in you, you can kick, you can move around. There's a lot of potential in you that if you want to actualize something. Okay, when now we're saying actualize, it also has to be within measure, because there's kuna actualization ile what's the name of this guy who was eating people? I've forgotten the name, but he even has a Netflix series. You don't know? I'm trying to remember the name. Okay, put the name in the comments, guys.
Okay.
But as long as it's something that is that will bring change, as long as it's something that will bring you joy and is will make the world a better place, it's worth giving it a shot. It's worth giving it a shot, because if ukikaa hapo chini, unfortunately, you will at some point you will sit back and you will say, I wish I made that decision. Because for me, there are some situations where I'm like, I wish I had.
But funny thing, right now you're saying you wish you had. Someone who is 50 or 40 is looking at you and telling you,
I wish
I were in your position right now. So, like, the position that you're in is relative. Someone who is, older is thinking, this guy is so lucky, he's so young. Then you're feeling you're a bit older than the 18-year-old. You're like, this guy is so blessed. He's really young. He has,
so it's a thing that comes with experience, or is that something we can do just to more or less empower whoever is before you, so that they don't have to suffer? When I say suffer, I'm not saying that it's torture, but they don't have to suffer that thought of, I wish I had made this decision.
And for you, as you empower them, because you have that realization right now, that you're still in a very, very prime period in your lifetime, as in your entire life is just waiting for you to just do all those things that you want to do. So even as you're telling the 18-year-old,
that hey,
you also need to think of yourself and remember that this,
as you're preparing, these are the things you need to think of. I think it is a topic that we could really
we could actually go do hours and hours on this,
because from the analysis of now the fear and faith, we haven't even done an analysis of a specific scenario where you're like
examples,
100% fearful.
But maybe we can do that the next episode. We can just talk about specific scenarios where people are, maybe someone wants to switch jobs, to get out of a bad relationship, to buy an asset and all those things. So
we actually should.
We should do a follow up to this,
amazing follow up
video. Yeah, I know.
Call this
but
is like
it's a deep topic by now when you think about it. So let's just maybe plan for that, and we'll do part 2 of this and just delve more into the fear versus faith topic. Okay, guys. So for today, I think that is it from us. You have been hanging out with my very good friend here, the realest OG,
and Harold Mumuli. Guys, I'm struggling here. Umsetu akitaja kasyllable kana sound hata ni kamoja, mi hapa niko Harold Mumuli ni kama najaza form ya ID. And we have been here with our
main man.
Jamaa mwenyewe.
But anajitanga I am Alvin on social media, so you can
I am Alvin Mwangi.
I am Alvin Mwangi. Just check him out.
Yes. So guys, again, please remember to subscribe, like, share these videos. We are trying to reach out to as many people as possible. The content we are trying to create here is helpful to all ages. I know this is probably a conversation I would have with my dad.
True.
With my mom, with my sister, my bro.
Even your small bros,
Just engage. Let us keep the conversation going. Thank you so much for joining us.
Until next time, deuces.